You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 193. Hello and welcome to today's Small and Supercharged podcast. We are joined by Danielle from DVR Equestrian. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you. Hello.
Excellent. So let's get straight on with it. Can you tell us a bit about you and how you got into what you do now?
Okay, so my name's Danielle and I am the founding director of DVR Equestrian. How I got into it, so obviously I'm a horse rider, as most equestrian business owners are, ridden all my life, mainly hacking. I absolutely love hacking all over the South Downs. That's my absolute passion around work. You just need that time out. Hence why I started the brand with StyleViz. And that all came about because when I was doing fashion and business at university, we had to do our business plan, and I was actually riding out and I was wearing a Nike base layer that I wear to the gym and my tabard on top.
Yeah.
And the side broke, the little elastic, and it was flying everywhere, which I hadn't realised, and the horse was being more energetic than usual, and I was thinking, what's going on? And until I saw it flying out the corner of my eye, it just gave me the idea. I just thought I had to take it off, and I thought, oh, if my base layer was just high vis, it would be so much easier. And so that's where the StyleViz idea initially came from. And I've always been kind of fascinated about why so many young riders have such a issue with wearing it and they don't want to put it on, and it's a bit like the whole body protector thing, isn't it, as well, and that kind of feeling around it. And I really wanted to change that and make it exciting and make someone look at an image and think, oh, I really want to wear high vis because I just love the style of how it's looking there, and kind of change the perceptions. So that was where that idea came from. And then I've always been brought up to think about the environment, care about the environment, and so sustainability was always going to be brought within my company, whatever I did. And I went and worked at a few brands who have sustainability at their centre, which is where I learned things like the idea of having a repairs service and how I could go about making that happen. And then, yes, DVR was born from that idea. I won the Barclays New Business Award at Graduate Fashion Week, which really gave me just the confidence, not the money to start, because anyone that started a brand knows you need some money behind you, but it gave me the confidence to think, okay, I've got something here. So then I went away, improved samples, and looked for awards that I could enter, where I could look at getting some money behind me to start the brand. I then did something called Kickstarter, which is crowdfunding, to raise some money for the first lot of stock. And it went from there.
So what was your first product and how long did that take to develop? Because obviously when you're making a new product from scratch with no other kind of, not obviously you've got the background in it, but you need to find suppliers, you need to find so much, don't you?
Yeah. So my first products were a base layer and a legging. And basically when I was at university, we had to do our whole own collection. And we learned how to sew, we learned how to do tailoring as well. And we had to manufacture everything ourselves. So I actually, within my final year, I built in the sort of products that I knew at some point I'd want to launch, because that gave me the time to work on patterns and everything else to have it there ready. So although I did a tailored collection underneath the tweed, I had leggings and I had base layers, and I'd worked on the fit and pattern to get it exactly what I wanted. So I actually left university with my patterns. I did edit, but the first images that were on the Kickstarter, all of those clothes were sewn by me, patterned by me, everything by me. And so I actually launched the Kickstarter with thinking that about half of the collection, where people, if you donate, you get a prize back, so you can choose what you want. And I was going to manufacture, and I did manufacture a lot of them myself. Yeah, and then I moved over to a factory, my first factory in Portugal. Anyone that's in fashion knows that Portugal's kind of second best to the UK for very similar workers' rights and things like that, but also they are brilliant for sportswear. And so I was really keen to work with Portugal, and I was very lucky because a riding friend's family run a factory, which
that helps.
That was super helpful, which I didn't notice until we were on a ride once and she mentioned, if you ever need anything. It was just fantastic because obviously, as lots of people will know, working with factories and your supply chain is one of the most difficult parts of clothing. And then in terms of fabrics, my fabric comes from Italy. And again, that had been a designer that I was working with. When I came out of university, I worked part-time for her. And yeah, she used this fabric in the gym leggings, and I would always ride in them, and I just loved it. And so it was a no-brainer for me to use it. And this is the fabric that's made up of Econile, which is the regenerated nylon made from mainly recycled fishing nets, but also things like carpet and any post-consumer waste.
Wow. So does that mean they literally take all of that stuff, the fishing nets,
all the stuff, yeah.
Stuff, and how do you actually regenerate fabric? How does that work?
Yeah, so it all goes together and kind of gets, in simple terms, mushed up.
Simple's good. I like simple. I like simple.
Almost shredded and broken down, and then reformed into the new nylon. And it's done differently. So if you were using natural fibres, like you can get now recycled cotton and things like that, it's done differently. And you can't, for example, the recycling machines can't take things like elastane because it can't handle it, which is why it gets more difficult with mixed fabrics.
Yeah.
But it does mean, yeah, things like you obviously get the plastic bottle fabrics as well. And I think it's really exciting because in terms of sustainability, you do have the issue of microplastics, which is when if you're washing clothes that are a man-made fibre, then you can get microplastics. But there's things called guppy bags now, which you put your clothes in the wash, and then you put them in the washing machine, and then they pick up all the microplastics.
Did not know about this.
Yeah, they're amazing. So you have that to avoid. And the difference with the recycled is, for me personally, I mean, I use natural fibres as well. I see the good in both, but there's kind of not a right and wrong in sustainability. It's hard to judge because everything does have an impact. But the thing I like about recycled is that we're actually doing something with the waste that we really need to clear up as well.
Because you do see these horrific images of, like, in the ocean, you know, these sort of islands made of waste, don't you?
It's terrifying, isn't it?
It's bizarre, especially I live in obviously Worcestershire, so you don't really see the sea anyway. And then what you imagine the sea to be, and you see these. It's usually Attenborough, isn't it? It's someone like Attenborough. Love Attenborough. My kids are obsessed with him at the moment.
Yeah.
When they sort of do this filming and there's all these lovely fish, and then it sort of goes up, and you kind of think, "Oh my God, what is that?"
I know, we're so detached from it, and it's for me, it's so worrying and sad to see that you want to not think about it. You know, you want to push out your mind, but it's only when, I mean, the last time I went on holiday, which because of COVID was a while ago, I think it was Sardinia. We were in the sea, swimming around a boat, and I was just shocked even there, the amount of, it wasn't long until I found another piece of plastic to pick up.
Really?
You know, just the kind of, it's not like you could see it all, but just when you're swimming around, you just notice the difference. To be honest, anywhere I go, I end up doing a beach clean. But I live near the sea, so I do notice it more. We've got the Cuckmere River near where I am, and because it's a river mouth, it does gather a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's terrifying, but it's the same. The biggest clothing industry issue is the amount of end-of-life clothing in landfill as well.
Okay.
And so when it comes to recycled fabrics, the one I'm most excited about, which is up and coming, is the ones where they take the old clothing and turn that into a new fabric.
Okay, because I know I've got a bit of a thing about fabric recycling, and I love the fabric recycling bins at the tip. Honestly, I quite like the tip because you feel like, you're doing a good thing. But I love the fact that I'm sure this is the same with all tips. It's not like I go around tips, but that they have got so much that you put your plasterboard in one place, you put your books in one place, you put your cardboard, so it can be recycled. Or when you drive out, it tells you how much they're recycling. So the clothing banks there, like the old clothing banks, what happens to that? Or is this the same as what you're talking about?
Well, I don't know a lot about that, but I think from what I do know, they go to a sorting place, and then anything that's good enough gets sent out to other countries where it's then sold.
Right, okay.
But I think things are changing because, don't quote me on this, I don't know for sure, because I haven't looked into that part of what happens to that sort of clothing. But yeah, this is from kind of documentaries I've watched and things like that. But from what's happening is that the level of quality of the clothing that we are now getting rid of is so poor that then people in other countries are struggling to sell it as well.
Yeah, I can believe that, because we tend to do fabric recycling when there's we don't put it in as we wouldn't take it to a charity shop, for example, to sell, because it's not that good, but it's still fabric that you feel can go off and
do something.
Make insulation, or
and some of them might be used for that sort of thing. I don't actually know much on that area, but I know that when it comes to fabric being recycled into new fabric, the issue there is the amount of different fibers within every different garment, and that having to be sorted, because you can't just put every fiber into the same recycling machine.
You're saying about the elastane?
Yeah, and that's why. Yeah, and that's why there's a lot of it's not done, because it's too costly. Basically, and then you get it all dumped. And for us, we don't have to look at it, because we send it over to a country that can't afford to deal with it, and it's dumped there. And it's really sad. It's difficult to be. The more you care, the more you get to know and understand. It's a difficult path to take, because you have to actually face it a lot, whereas other people blank out and don't think about it. But we all need to face it now. We all know we need to face it now, and we need to start thinking. And so but it doesn't need to be this all-consuming, everything's terrible thing, because there's so many really exciting things happening. And when you look at these recycled fabrics and the places doing it right, the amount that they've already picked up, the amount that's already been saved from landfill, is amazing. And I feel that that's only going to get better and better, quicker and quicker, now that there's so much demand for it.
Yeah, because if you wear out a pair of jeans because you've worn out the knee or the bum, I could try and think where my jeans just wear out, but it doesn't mean that the fabrics, the bits that have got the holes in obviously aren't terribly useful, but it doesn't mean that everything is useless. Far from it.
Exactly. And actually, in terms of the equestrian world, like, we are all usually very sustainable. We all need to repair rugs, to save the money.
Yes, too right. Especially a shredder that likes to make speed holes in it whenever they can.
And we're usually quite thrifty and clever with everything that we have around the yard, and I think that's a great basis to start off. And we do all kind of deserve a pat on the back for that, because I feel like when you're kind of around people that maybe aren't working in nature or working with horses or animals, there's such a disconnect from the almost the real world, and that everything we do has consequences. And I hoard everything. I'm always like, this can be used for something up the yard. Even if like a lead rope breaks, you kind of look at the clip thing and you think, I'll use that somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. To stop them, if you've got one that can like open the latch and let themselves out, just pop it on there, because obviously they're too right. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So you said obviously you started your business using Kickstarter, which is really cool, and there's loads of businesses that have started that way. And they got and as you said, it works that you put in a pledge, you give some money and you get a reward. So was the reward initially that people would get those items of clothing, and what was that first product?
Yeah, so the rewards, there was a range of rewards depending on how much money you put in, from the initial, so you could choose like a leggings base layer. I had the sports bras. So everything I've designed, I've really wanted to be for a purpose, and the sports bras came in because I always wore sports bras riding. But then friends that didn't go to the gym, they'd never thought about getting a sports bra for their horse riding, and I was like, "You're doing a sport. Like this is
And a
important.
bouncy
It
sport
makes
at
such a
times.
difference." Yeah, and it just makes such a difference. And then they turned into being the kind of the white and the beige for under your competition wear, because again, it's just something that I couldn't find on the market, and I wanted, so that you have an invisible kind of bra situation.
Definitely, because if you're paying for these beautifully tailored shirts and everything, and as you say, you've got kind of straps and lumps and bumps, because just how they work, lumps and bumps in the wrong places. No, absolutely, that makes perfect sense.
And then it went all the way up to the top prizes or rewards were kind of like the whole clothing bundle, and then it even went up to choosing your own colours for your own design.
That's really cool.
So that was really fun. I loved the Kickstarter, but I always tell people, the month of work from when it was live, because as you'll know, if you don't reach your target, you don't get any of the money. The work was worse than my whole final year of university, which if anyone's done a fashion course will know that it was intense. But it was brilliant because it's intense in marketing as well, and everyone becomes part of it and wants you to reach your goal, and so everyone's sharing it, and it's such great brand exposure, if nothing else, even if you didn't reach your target.
No, definitely, but obviously you did reach your target, which was superb. And then how did that go on to develop from the Kickstarter into what we see today? Because you've got quite a significant range now, haven't you?
Yes, that's the issue with being a designer. Trying to be a businesswoman, because I love bringing my products out. So initially, I mean, even at the Kickstarter, I had probably a more extensive range than I should have. But there still is so many products that I feel the market needs and that I want to bring. So it started by, I obviously launched the Style Viz collection that first year, and straight away I knew that I wanted to do training wear as well, and your everyday riding wear, because the fabrics are so highly technical for sports, brilliant for things like show jumping, anything that's real high performance, and lots of movement. So it's the fabric that's got muscle control, temperature regulation, breathability. Obviously, it's also got the oil resistance, which is fantastic for around the yard, washes up really well. But it's more about the stretch in the fabric. I can't explain it, but you wear it, and it's got the compression, so it helps with your circulation. But then when you're moving, for example, if you're stretching over a jump, there's absolutely no restriction. But when you look at the product on someone, you think that's going to feel tight, but it doesn't. It's
like a second skin almost.
It's really hard to describe. I mean, with the Dexters, the track pants that people wear, either on their own, or lots of people wear them over their competition wear for warming up and things like that. And you kind of tell people you could put as many of them on as you wanted, and you won't feel that you've got 3 layers on, for example. But you can't explain it until someone puts it on, which is why I love doing the shows, because people put them on and you get all the kind of gasps, and people are just amazed at how it feels. But because of this, I was like, we can't just have this in high vis, because it's such a good technical fabric for everything else that other riders that don't need the high vis or don't want the high vis need to have it. So that's why the training collection came so quickly. And then the competition wear, to be honest, I'm a designer, that's my main thing, so I want to have every product that I would want and that an equestrian would want, and that's why it's such an extensive range. But I'm kind of changing things now, and I'm trying to home in on our absolute core best products. I mean, everything I've always designed has always been there to be core, unless I want to update and improve the design. I've never wanted to be a seasonal brand. It goes against everything that I believe in. I want it to be core wardrobe pieces that you'd wear any age and keep in your wardrobe. So that's always been there. But I still think, in terms of small businesses, I probably moved too fast in the amount of products I made available, because as a small business with cash flow and everything else, it's then hard to keep everything in stock, which is one of our issues.
But I think that, and I mean, with the current situation with Brexit and flipping COVID and everything, a lot of people are having stock issues anyway, even bigger businesses, because just getting the products in, and obviously the cost of the freight,
import,
there we go, all that has been sort of swings and roundabouts as well. So I think a lot of people are having those kind of issues, hopefully are working themselves through, but again, you're alone there. Is that why? Because a lot of your collection is beautiful, and I love the fact that they all go together, but the colours are they're not, I want to say neutral, but I don't want that to be in a negative way.
No, not at all.
They work. They're not like an on-trend colour for this, as you say, for now, which actually is so wild that in a few seasons people are like, oh, that, I mean, not that I really keep up with colours, I buy things because I like the colour, but is that the idea though, that they can just work with anything like that, capsule collection in your wardrobe that just always works?
Exactly, I've tried to go for timeless colours.
Timeless, that's the word.
But kind of any time in my own life I would have worn, and not and also I really listen to my customers. So obviously I go by what sells best, but I also go by what the customers are asking for. A clear example is literally this week I've had a poll going for what colour we should do for the new pennies.
Yes, I've seen that.
And actually I was kind of set on doing this kind of dark tan colour, and the green has come out. Everyone wants the green, so I'm doing the green, because that's what the customers have asked for. And I want the brand, with our community, I really try and make it that we are all one, and this is for them. So I mean, I design everything for myself as well, but I'll only choose the colour options that I'd be happy with all of them. You know, if I could launch all those 3 colours, I would. But that's why, I will always listen to the customer. And actually, so our colours are very neutral, but that is what has been wanted from the customers as well. And I've always wanted, I do think about the way that everything looks together, and I want people to be able to buy stuff and not have that thing that sits in their wardrobe because they like it, but then it doesn't go with anything else.
We've all got those. We have all got those.
Or it's too much to think about what am I going to pair that with. I want you to be able to like just grab everything, chuck it all on, and it looks good.
Definitely.
I
think one of the great things that definitely we've seen more over the last few years is that not all that long ago, if someone said the word sustainability or this product is sustainable, you'd think, oh, that means it's a bit rubbish. By which I mean, it ticked the boxes, it was sustainable, it was good from that point of view, but you didn't expect it to last very long or look very good, because you were buying it because it was great in this way. But that has massively changed now, and which is brilliant. And there's some really fab brands out there who are absolutely smashing it in terms of, yes, it's sustainable, but it's also highly technical, really brilliant. Why wouldn't you choose the sustainable option over the non-sustainable one? Because actually it's as good, if not better than, and it's got all these other benefits. How have you felt that sort of the feeling has gone around sustainability, how people view sustainable products?
What amazes me is, so when I launched the brand, I didn't really market the fact that lots of the fabrics were recycled, or that I was, the way I ran the business at home was very sustainable, and I always thought about everything, because that's just been something that has mattered to me rather than being a USP. And then we were at Your Horse Live, and my friend who was working with me said, I can't believe you don't have a sign up that says that your fabrics are made from recycled fishing nets. And she was like, I'm doing it. And she just did it. She just wrote it down and stuck it up. And it was such a conversation starter. And it's because I didn't want it to be that people were buying the product because it was sustainable. I wanted it to be that I wanted people to buy my designs because they loved the design, and also because they're highly technical, brilliant fabrics in themselves, just as you were saying. And so there's also that thing, I think, where people get scared to say that something's sustainable in some way, because often you end up getting the backlash, because then someone looks at absolutely everything and looks for something to judge you on, that you're not doing well enough.
Yes, yeah, there was a thing on Instagram this week. There was a girl who's a very big influencer who did some stories of her basically carrying her shopping bag in her arms because she'd forgotten her bag for life and didn't want to add more plastic. But of course, when you go to the supermarket, some stuff is packaged in plastic, and she got abuse via DM about, well, your courgettes are in plastic, so you're not being that green, are you? And she's like, it was just a funny thing, because it's like an ongoing thing. She keeps a bag for life, and she won't buy another one because it's meant to be a bag for life, and she needs to like reduce plastic. And I thought, God, it was a funny thing that would have made me think, oh, don't forget your bag. For me, don't forget your bag when you go to the shop.
Yeah.
So no, I know what you mean. People are looking to pick holes, aren't they? Go, well, you're not that good.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really keen on being super transparent. And so it's not so much about we're doing everything perfectly. It's about we are happy to tell you what we're doing, for you to make your judgment. And I mean, I completely get why lots of brands don't, if they do start to make better choices, why they don't talk about it too much. Because even as consumers, sometimes you think, oh, I'm going to aim to be more sustainable, and you can choose and change one thing and feel good in yourself for doing that. And there's so much of this, oh, well, you're doing that, but you're doing that. And we have to get away from that, because we all need to do. I love that quote. I put it on the Instagram a little while ago about that we need millions of people doing sustainability wrong, rather than one person doing it 100% perfectly.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's so true. And I feel that there's such a, I don't know if it's an easy way out to stop other people feeling guilty that they're not doing enough, but it's so easy to suddenly judge. And actually, as brands as well, we can all accept that we're not perfect, but that doesn't give you the reason to not want to do even one thing better.
I think you're right. If every brand moved to more sustainable packaging, that would be mega. Yes, that other parts of their business may not be as sustainable, but it's still a really big thing. I mean, just something that we do at home, which is, again, really small, but I always buy they're called Ocean Saver, like you put them, rather than buying all the bottles of antibacterial surface spray, kitchen cleaner, bathroom cleaner. We just reuse the same bottles over and again with these things. And okay, that's not going to change the world, but it's probably going to stop, I don't know, hang on, let's pretend, how much does a normal person clean? A significant number of bottles a year going into landfill. It's not going to fix the world's problems, but if everybody did something like that, I'm not saying I'm perfect at all, but just these little things that actually there's definitely no impact on the performance. But I get this little dissolvable sachet that I put in, I get a tiny cardboard box that goes into recycling. It's
amazing. And actually, you can, I know that some people, it's easy to go, oh, I'm costed out of it, I can't afford to. But we got one of the, have you seen they're round balls that go in your washing machine?
I have, but I don't know much about them.
Okay, so it's like a rubber round ball, and it's got all these little balls in it. And you put it in the washing machine with every wash. You don't use any detergent. And it makes our clothes smell amazing. It's fantastic. And the money we've saved from not buying bottles and bottles, I really recommend them, because I thought I need to go and use these before I start recommending it everywhere. But we've had ours for, since we moved into the house. So a year now. And I haven't even changed the little balls inside it yet, which they end up dissolving over time.
Right, so that's like your detergent in the...
but they're I can't explain it, but they're almost like, they look like they're wooden, and they're really strong, and they take a long time to break down. So I think you can get like 1,000 washes or something ridiculous. I super recommend them, because I always think about the amount of money we must have saved so far.
No, I'll look at that, because also a couple of years ago, our washing machine horribly broke, and the bloke said, the fixer man,
you're like me.
he said that a lot of people use more liquid than they should, and it actually like rots stuff around the machine, because ours now, it'll insist on you doing a wash cycle, which is super hot, to kind of, I assume, boil off all the residue. Whereas like you don't get residue if it's in the ball, do you? Because it's, I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, I really recommend. I wish I could remember what they're called, but they're brilliant.
Send me the link when you know, and I will also examine the places. That's really cool. But again, a big thing that you're not using liquid unnecessarily, and you're not putting those bottles into the,
exactly. Another thing I've been loving is the Lush shampoo bars.
I've seen those again, so you're not having the plastic bottles, because I use a lot of conditioner, to be honest, because you've just got to.
Yeah, I got a shampoo bar from Lush, and it just makes me so happy. Again, when I see, we do still have plastic bottles where my boyfriend has the ones that he wants. When they get to the end, you actually get through so many of them as well, and
it's so easy to squidge, isn't it, with shampoo or whatever? It's so easy to just squidge it on your hand, whack it in. Whereas if you have to work a bit for it, I guess it's a bit different.
But the Lush one, it really foams up, and it's just fantastic. It's a honey and something one, lovely.
That's these little things, as you say, that actually make quite a big difference if it's multiplied.
If it was all of us, cool. Imagine how much soap plastic that would be saving. But the good thing is that all these businesses are now, we're seeing it everywhere. They're really having to think about it. The one scary thing, obviously, is the greenwashing.
Yes, and this is when a brand says, "Oh, we're sustainable, we're eco-friendly," and they really aren't. But it is a marketing trend. Like it shouldn't be a marketing trend, as in without the back up of it really is the stuff we've done. I know in the equestrian space we've had some big brands do really cool things, like making rugs out of fabric that is eco-friendly and sustainable, which is awesome. But as you say, the greenwashing is not good, because people feel they're doing a good thing, but they're not necessarily, not through any fault of theirs at all.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think it's really difficult for consumers to know where to go, and that's why I think it's just good to look for transparency and remember that you can ask the questions. Like, these businesses are there for you, so you have every right to email and ask any questions you want to, or otherwise just it's a really difficult one, because lots of people want to do better, but they don't know where to start, or they don't know what to look at, or you go and try and read the information on the, and no one has, or lots of people don't have time to sit there and become in really educated on it and sit there and read article after article to understand. So that's why I think it's just important to look out for brands and businesses that you feel that you can trust. And I think transparency is key. As long as they're telling you a lot of information about what they're doing, it's a really good example, because it just shows that. I'd also say, the brands that are saying we're not perfect, but this is what we're doing, and this is why we want you to be on the journey, because people that appreciate that, anyone that's truly into sustainability and becoming better knows that they are not better than the person next to them because they've made one more thing out of a recycled fabric. It's not the answer to everything. And as a whole, it's the whole way that the business is built. And one thing that worries me so much in terms of clothing is actually the poly bags that the products come in from factories.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is something that I've worked quite hard on to resolve, because as a small business, there's lots of alternatives out there, but the minimums are huge on the bags and things like this. But you need to be able to protect your clothing at the same time. And it's a really difficult one. But things like that, if you hear that a business is making efforts to change things like that, and they want to tell you about it, everything's great signs. But if you want to know a bit more, just go and ask.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the most recent additions to your range, I think, is your headbands, which were, I saw them, I was like, oh my God, that is genius and the epitome of recycling, I guess. So can you tell us a bit about the idea behind those and how you even create them? Because I think that must be quite a job.
Yeah, sure. So this was a difficult one. So it's obviously always a slower process when you're trying to make your products sustainably, because you need to think about the long run and how it's going to happen. And for the headbands, it's been a really long one for me because I've always wanted to do them, but I've had a real issue with making it a possible product price wise, but also so that it's going to work from a business point of view, but also really be as sustainable as possible. And so I wanted to make them from like an alpaca wool or some more sustainable wool. But the more and more I looked into it, it was either too expensive that it just priced the headbands right out, or there was a lot that would say recycled and different things, but I didn't feel that I knew enough about what was happening. I was thinking about how we could be sustainable, but without having a recycled wool that has gone through all these other processes, then taken ages to get to me, and done all of those journeys. And I was just thinking, and the crocheter who makes them, she mentioned to me something about how she will sometimes unravel things that she doesn't want or that she finds, and then she'll make them into something else. And that was it for me, because I thought, okay, well, charity shops have so many different items of clothing that often, as we know, they don't always manage to sell everything. And it just, I loved everything about the idea, because it means that it's all happening in one place. So she sources them all close to her home. She crochets them all, and she's in the next town to me, and then they come to me. And so the whole process just felt so right. And the other thing was, in terms of the cost, was that we are paying the supplier, who is a charity. So we're also giving to charity. It was an absolute no-brainer when we thought of it. It was just kind of like, okay, what processes do we go through? Because obviously they need to be cleaned. So they're unraveled, then cleaned, and then crocheted back up, which is great. I love it. It's one of my favorite products of last year, and ideas that we've brought to life. And I feel that it's got longevity, and it's nice for the consumer because everyone is going to be a little bit different. We can quite quickly bring new colours. So she's working on some now. We've just got the black restocked, but the last I heard from her, she had some navy in. So I've kind of told her the kinds of DVR colours to look out for. It's such a simple idea, and it just works so well.
I think it's brilliant. When I saw it, I was like, that is genius. Because as you say, there's actually some beautiful clothes in charity shops. And if someone's having a clear out of their wardrobe, they give the best of the charity, and the stuff goes to the fabric recycling. And these sort of really potentially quite expensive stuff in their first life is going to sort of go off and live and have another fab life with a horsey person or with an outdoor person, which, who doesn't want that?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it goes back to the thing of the biggest issue in the clothing industry being the end of life clothing. And we try and look for styles that we think aren't going to sell, and would be a bit outdated, and obviously have enough wool within them. But it's a concept that I'm really pleased with, and I hope that we can grow and build on as we go. But so far they're going really well, and I love a story behind the product as well. I think it obviously makes it a lot more interesting, but the customers really appreciate that we're thinking outside the box when it comes to sustainability, because I mean, it's the traceability through the process that matters the most to me. And especially now, even with suppliers, you've got the same issue where everyone knows you want sustainable stuff. So someone says, oh, this is recycled. Well, how is it recycled? What am I being greenwashed? Can I trust that? So that's really important, and this means that it's all under our control. And I just think it's great.
Awesome. Now, on your website, you can obviously shop by different things. You can go and look at particular types of clothing, but you can also shop by values. That's not something I have seen before as an option. So what made you think about that, and what kind of values have you focused in on?
So shop by values is something that quite a few sustainable brands do, but away from the equestrian world. Obviously, the equestrian wear industry is quite different, I'd say, to the sportswear industry as a whole. And because that's kind of my area and I'm very into sustainable fashion as a whole, I have seen this concept come up quite a lot. I'm not taking all the credit that I just thought to do, shop by values. It's something that quite a few brands that I love do. And it's a concept I really like because it puts the power into the consumer's hands and allows you to shop by what you care about, because some people know more about sustainability, or like we were saying before, some people feel that sustainability is all about the natural fibres and they want natural only, so then you can shop that way. Some people want to support British made, and we have some products that are made in Britain, but not all our products are. So I really wanted that option to be there because of that reason, because we've got quite a few collections that are sustainable in their own way, depending on what values the consumer holds. I mean, lots of people say they want made in Britain, but then when the price point is so different, they don't. And so to me, it was important to do that wherever I can, but equally to run a successful business, it's not possible with every product that I have to make that possible so far. And also, again, from a clothing industry background, people will know that the manufacturer, when it comes to sportswear, actually the UK isn't best for sportswear. So I use the UK for certain products that I know it will be good for.
Yeah.
So we have a seamstress that makes our hat silks from the leftover fabric from manufacture of the base layers.
Oh, cool.
That's done in the UK. And our hat peaks are now recycled as well, which is really cool because, again, thinking about your products, you don't think about that bit of plastic that's inside the hat silk.
Yeah, but it is indeed needed for the peak to stick out, isn't it?
Exactly. And I've looked at like the board options and things, but of course it's all weathers, so you can't really have like a thick cardboard or anything like that. And so I try to just think about all of these areas. And so, yeah, I mean, that was the shop by values part, came from realizing that sustainability means a different thing to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's completely fine. And that's because we've all got our own journeys and we've all learned our own things along the way. And so to me, it was just important to say, it's up to you, what you care about. We all care about different things. We all have our argument for why we think one thing's better than the other. And we're all learning, and even my opinion changes often with something else that I'll learn from someone. It happened just the other day when I was learning more about organic cotton, and the fact that actually for a lot of farmers it's such a privilege, because you have to leave your land for 3 years before you can farm organically. And if you have a next door neighbour who has a piece of land and they are farming conventional cotton, then you can't be an organic cotton farmer because of the radius from where the bee flies.
Oh, wow. I hadn't even thought of this stuff at all.
No, I hadn't either. So I am still learning just as much as everyone else, but it's just so interesting how much there is that we don't know about the process that our clothes go through, even before the fabric is made into a fabric.
Yeah.
Even down to, I mean, the process that bamboo goes through to be made into bamboo viscose. I could go on about it all day, but what I'd say is be open-minded and go for what you feel matters to you, but also be open-minded about learning about other things, and don't shut off ideas because you think that that's more sustainable than that, because actually there's such a bigger picture going on, and one thing can sound more sustainable, but when you look into the processes, and there's also that whole thing that if something might be made from not the best, most sustainable fabric, but if it's made to last forever, is that not more sustainable than buying 5 pairs of whatever it is that don't last as long? It's a big crazy.
A lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
One thing you do that I really liked as well, thinking about making things last forever, or maybe not quite forever, but you offer a repair service, which is, again, something you don't often see, and something that probably bigger brands would struggle with more. So can you talk to us about that? How did that come out?
I did some work experience at a brand called Finisterre, that are one of my favorite brands, absolute pioneers for sustainability. And they had a girl who did repairs one day a week when I was there, because it was much smaller. Now they have a full-time repairs kind of thing going on, but it just, working with them really showed me that if you start right and you build these concepts in early, when you are that bigger brand, it's then not such an impossible, daunting thing to make happen. And, you know, I think it's easy to think, oh, you know, that would be really hard to implement, but that is sustainable fashion. Like, it's slower, it's more expensive, it's more difficult. It's a more difficult journey, but if you start from the beginning, aligning with your values and having the right intentions, there's absolutely no reason why. I mean, yeah, it's a harder path to walk, but I feel you get so much more from it, and you feel, I mean, for me, I kind of, I don't want to say, oh, I sleep better at night, but it is that concept of, if you have to follow what you believe in.
Yeah.
However, if the path is harder, then that's a good thing, because there's so much more at the end of it in terms of personal satisfaction in what you've achieved.
And also, I think if you're selling a product with a slightly higher price point, you know, we if you go kind of fast fashion versus more sustainable is more expensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know with brands I work with who do, you know, all sorts of products, even like feed supplements and things like that. It's not the cost on the tub or the cost on the hanger that matters. It's actually how many wears or how many uses are you going to get out of that.
Yeah.
What's the cost per wear? Because you could buy a top for £10, but if you wear it twice and it disintegrates, that can actually be more expensive than one for £100 that actually you wear 400 or 500 times.
Yeah.
And this
100%.
service really supports that.
Yeah. And I think that's what it was all about. And it's also about almost bringing to light that you can repair again, because we repair things for our horses and things like that, or we get people to, but we don't always, most people, I'd say, don't think about doing it so much for their own things anymore. And when it's a seam or something needs reinforcing a bit, it's not actually a difficult process, and it's not too time intensive. And for me, it's just something to, it also instills confidence in the products and in us as a brand, that we have confidence in our products. But it also, I mean, I love it. I got a Trustpilot review the other day of a woman who had a jacket from us years ago, and she had gone into something and it torn and sent it back for repair, and she'd said, you know, it will now go on and she'll use it and use it and use it. And I just feel it's such a shame. I think it's, unless you worked in fashion or you know how to sew, sometimes you don't realize how simple it can be to, you know, sew up a little hole and then keep wearing that and loving it. There's absolutely no reason why it needs to go. And I think we do feel that when we love a product. Often, you know, I've got some boat shoes that I've kept forever, even though they literally have fallen apart, but I'm like, someone will be able to fix this because I love them so much. And yeah, so I think we all want to do it, and it almost just reminds people, even if they're not going to use our repair service, that you can repair your clothes and look after them. And it matters to me. It's also great to see products come in, because I get to see how they've been lasting and what areas look like. I had someone from the Kickstarter, one of our longest standing customers, and she sent back a few things, but one of them was the pair of leggings from the Kickstarter, and they looked fantastic. And I just thought they needed quite a few seams kind of reinforcing and things, but the fabric was looking so fantastic, and it just
brilliant, isn't it?
It was brilliant. But you know, if I was thinking, oh, actually that hasn't lasted as well as I would want it to, I'd then be thinking about, okay, how am I going to improve this product? So it's great to see as well. I mean, as we grow, it might become more difficult, but I follow the same kind of idea of Finisterre, where as that happens, you know, if we need more repair staff, we'll have more repair staff. And yeah, I mean, it might not mean we're as profitable as other companies, but that's never what it's been about for me. So yeah, it doesn't matter to me. If you're a business person looking for the highest profits, then repair service might not be something that you do.
No, but it's a nice point of difference as well that makes, as you say, it gives people that confidence that if they're spending a bit more on a product, they know it's going to last, because it will be fixed if you know the seam does do something strange.
Yeah.
Now the whole kind of business journey is always full of many ups and downs. And I wondered if there was a low. We're going to go high. We're going to finish on a high. Are there any lows that you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had kind of one really big, you know, when sometimes people have a real standout thing.
Yeah.
But to me, it's a lot of pushbacks, a lot of actually I have had one. You just reminded me, thanks. I had a very, very large brand of not clothing, but and a brand that I really look up to, that I've always loved since I was a child, interested in investing.
Oh wow.
And it was a really exciting conversation, and it was a massive moment for me to say, okay, you're doing something right here. And that fell through. So that was one of the downs. But in terms of other ones, it also wasn't. I'm not someone that looks at things as a negative, because that gave me the confidence to push it further. And, you know, there's always such a positive to things. And I'm so pleased that happened, because it made me get my act together very quickly. But it also, gave me that confidence to say, they can see something in you.
Yes.
So you need to keep believing in that and see that thing. But also I've had lots of little ones consistently, because that is running a business.
Yeah, that is absolutely
and trying to grow a business. And I think, again, it's just about being so adaptable. So, for example, I hadn't had my Dexter track pants, which are one of my best sellers, in stock for a while. I got the stock, and the factory had put the old silicone design on, which was stripes where just on the knee, where I changed that to be little DVRs all over the inside leg.
Right.
And even though it hadn't been a style for ages, I'm not sure what happened and why it was done. But, you know, you kind of see it and you go into panic mode and you think, what am I going to do? And then you have to be adaptable, and you have to think, how can I make this a positive?
Yeah.
And I was really upset. And because the production process is so long, as you probably know, that it's kind of like, it's not something that can be a quick fix.
No.
And it was peak season when I needed it. I think it was about May time. It's perfect time, because they're great for hot weather. And so what I did, again, I always feel that bringing my community into it is the best way to be, and to be transparent, is I said, look, everyone, like, this has happened. We've had this mess up. But what it does offer is the chance for me to sell it at a discounted price, and give loads of you that don't get the chance to try this product the opportunity to try it. And then we sold them out in a week, and it was awesome. Fantastic. And I was actually ended up being so pleased that it had happened, because I also got a load of my customers that, and I know price point can be an issue where people are really passionate about DVR, but it is a high price point. And I kind of made the decision that is the way I want to go, because I didn't want to change any of my values or adapt the products to be any less than they were.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was an example. And also, just at Horse of the Year show last year, I had a big board that needed to go up, and we set up the stand, and I left it to the side, and came back the next day. I thought I'd put it behind, or it was in the van, and actually it had been taken, I think, by the people that were cleaning. because it was there and then it was gone and it wasn't in the van, so I can't think what else could have happened. But we had to, again, be adaptable and figure out how we could make the stand work without it. We ended up going and buying a whiteboard, but thinking sustainably I would then use at home as well, but so that we could write on it the stuff that the board had said, because we didn't have any other choice, kind of thing. And you can't let them things get you down, because you won't succeed. You have to be a survivor every time something happens.
Definitely. And has there been like a standout high on your journey? Although it sounds like quite a lot of your lows have turned into highs, actually, which is brilliant.
When I went to Beta, I got to meet Princess Anne.
That's not a bad high at all. I would love to meet her.
Yeah, and I just felt there was only 5 of us within the show, and I felt it was a really nice feeling that we were chosen. So that was great. Obviously the potential for the investor was a really nice high when that happened. And also I think when I was within a sustainability talk in an article in Horse and Hound, and they asked for a landscape photo, so I thought it would be within the article. And then when I got the magazine, it was they'd blown it up and done a full page, which was just incredible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe they're little things, but they were.
No, they're not at all. They're brilliant.
They were big for me.
Right. I mean, I've learned loads. We've got lots of tips coming through there. We've got all sorts. If anyone wants to find out more, and I'm sure people will do, I mean, they need to follow you on social anyway, but can you tell us all the places where they can find you online?
Yep. So obviously all the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest. We're on all of them. And then our website is www.dvrequestrian.com. Is that it? I think that's it. Oh, we do. We have a small podcast from lockdown, which is on SoundCloud and all the ones that you can find. But I think that's everywhere we are on the. Oh, YouTube.
YouTube. You're everywhere. You're in all the places.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Danielle. That has been awesome.
Thank you.
I've learnt loads.
Too much.
No, not at all. I've learnt loads. I'm going to go off and look at the washing machine ball and shampoo bars and all sorts. So thanks so much for joining and for sharing all that information. It's been brilliant.
Thank you so much for having me. I've wanted to be on this podcast for a long time, so I feel very honoured.
Oh, very much so. Now it's award winning and everything. All the better. Thanks so much.
Thank you.